so my fiance, her brother, Chris, and his wife, Shauna, they just had their first kid. So on the topic of babies, I don't know if you guys got this advice, but they were given the advice to not let anyone kiss their baby. And let me just tell you, you guys don't know my fiance's mother, but it's Pam's way or the highway. And if somebody's going to tell her you can't kiss this baby, her first granddaughter, or first grandson, I need to get that right. And so they're telling her, like, you can't kiss our baby. And she's like, excuse me, what? And so then she tells us, and we're like, wait, no one can kiss this child? Like, shouldn't somebody kiss the child? Like, to show it, like, hey, you're loved in this world. Like, you're not just this being that, like, we're all robots here. So was that something that you guys were told for your two kids? Like, don't let anyone kiss this baby?
Well, for Haley, it was don't let anybody get near the baby because she's, so little and she's just not able to take any kind of germs right now. So we didn't hear as much of it with Haley, but definitely by the time Connor came around, because that was 10 years later, we had definitely heard that. And actually it's Connor's best friend. He's a year older than Connor is. And he has a lot of eczema and a lot of allergies. And like, he's already such a fragile person. And when he was probably about 6 months old, he had been kissed by somebody, and he ended up with herpes on his face.
Whoa.
And it's bad enough you walk by somebody, you see a cold sore, and you're like, that has to hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
This baby, it was not just around his mouth, but he hadn't been kissed on the mouth. He'd just been kissed on the face. It wasn't just around his mouth there. It went all the way up his cheek, into his ear, in his eye. It was everywhere. You see that on a little one that can't understand, no, you can't touch it. No, I can't fix it. You're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that anymore. Like, maybe no one should touch our child.
Well,
I was also
60 cousins kissing a baby.
Well,
that's a lot of germs.
That, I'm telling you, it's like, that's difficult. I'm a helicopter parent. Well, not so much with Connor. It was definitely a helicopter parent with Haley. It was like, she has pictures of me with arms around this child to make sure she doesn't get cut.
Like walking down a path with him walking behind her.
But so I already was like running defense on all these 60 people being like, no. Now there's a couple, like my mother-in-law got through, of course. Like there was no, and then a lot of her aunts were like, I've been here, I wiped that kid's butt, I'm going to kiss that kid. Like there was no way to be like, no. It was like they pulled rank automatically. But I tried really hard.
And it was easier once we had an example. No, look at this picture. Tell me you want to be the cause of this.
I think the important part in that too is like just understanding, like as parents, like it's your call at that point. Like who touches your baby?
Well, yeah, I mean, you say like they pulled rank.
Yeah.
I, as a new parent, especially for me, I looked at my mom like, what does mom thinks is a good idea? What there's a sniffly nose. I should call my mother. Yeah. So if my mom's like, you can kiss babies, it's fine. I'm going to listen to her. Yeah. And so when I think it's important to realize, no, I can still say no. Mm-hmm. Like that. No is a complete sentence. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a reason behind it. You can just say no. Mm. That doesn't always work well with mothers. The mothers need the complete sentence.
I taught you how to say no. You're not telling me no.
Yeah, I mean, and that brings up a huge point of just like standing up to your parents probably for the first time in your life as an adult to say, I know you want to do it this way, and I know you have these philosophies and these ideals, but for me, this is how we're going to do it for my family. And I'm sure like for Ashley's brother right now, he is fighting a hard battle. Because, yeah, if anyone's going to kiss that baby first, it will be Ashley and his mother for sure. But, yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like, I get the whole, like, not letting your 60 cousins all pass along your baby. That's a lot of people, especially in a time of COVID. But, like, maybe have the father and mother just be like, hey, we're going to kiss our baby.
Believe me, we kissed our babies.
Yeah, nobody else was allowed to touch him, but I snuggled him hard.
Yeah, so. I mean, and not to say that...
Snuggled him hard. That's going to be taken out of context so bad. In that voice, where did oh my goodness.
I don't know.
Cut that part.
Yeah. Now, in between having a 14-year-old and then a 4-year-old, that 10-year gap, and you were saying like you were the helicopter parent for Haley, was there anything that you learned over those 10 years that you probably did differently? Like going back, have you done anything differently at all, the two of you raising Haley? Because I'm sure like any new parent is just going to be like, oh my gosh, I got to read all these books and I got to do all these things. And and you just go out of control with all that. I mean, James literally just had his firstborn. He's probably like following a 2,000 step process every day as to how to raise the best human being.
Yeah. Well, so the important part is to note, because if I don't note this, Haley will note this when she hears it. I'm still helicopter-ish around Connor in regards to like I still have it built to me where I go.
Sometimes
yeah,
I'm like, just leave the room.
yeah,
just let
like-
them
like you
play.
just stop panicking. But I have chilled out a lot. We both chilled out a lot. Where it's like you understand that like they told us, for example, when we brought Haley home, even though all the problems, the nurse told us babies are bendable, they'll bounce back. And I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, you can't
that
really.
sounds wrong, doesn't it?
But she's just like, you can't, like, I know you think you're going to hurt this child, but, like, God designed this kid to bend in ways that you don't think. I mean, not that you're doing it intentionally, like, but the idea is that, like you're going to mess up, and the kid's still going to be okay. Like, that's the idea, like, chill out. Whereas, like, with Haley, it was, like, basket, and it didn't help that she was born so early. So it was, like, basket, egg, all the things around it to make sure it's all right. And I think 10 years later, we're both like, he can get cut. Like, he'll be fine.
Like he can run down the driveway. Like, he's not gonna fall on the rocks every time. Like,
Yeah.
he'll figure out that balance where he's not going topsy turvy all the way down.
Yeah, so now
and-
when he gets cut, he's like, I'm getting stronger.
Yeah.
And Haley would not even have that opportunity because I'm like, oh no, there's blood.
I think too, when we had Haley, we were 23. Just to tell my age here, when we had Haley, we were 23. With Connor, we were 33. We grew up in that 10-year period. So I went from being a mom that was like, no, this is the rule. There's no bending this rule. You will follow the rules. And I mean, we'll be all, lovey and cuddly and we'll have a great time, but you're not going outside of these boundaries.
I feel like you're fighting for authority.
Yes, like constantly. And with Connor, I'm like, well, we're not supposed to have ice cream for breakfast, but it is your birthday. So we can have ice cream today.
Yeah, it's a lot. You get to you get to understanding. I mean, it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like you're careful what you plant and what you water. Like you're like, this isn't as a big deal as I thought it was. Like as far as like ice cream not every day, but we're gonna cheat sometimes. Whereas like I don't think Haley got ice cream ever, unless it was like
Nanny gave her plenty
Well,
of
yeah.
ice cream.
Yeah, again with the mother-in-law thinking behind the back. But the idea is that you chill out a lot, and it's not that we would have changed. Like we don't regret having Haley so early, but it's one of those things where we learned a lot in between the process.
Yeah, you almost feel bad for her because
Yeah.
she had to
She
go
was like
through
the
the
beta
strict
baby.
parent. And I think everybody does that with your oldest and your youngest. But a lot of people don't have that big a gap, or they have kids inside of that gap, and so it's more gradual. And with us, I mean, Haley will look at us sometimes and she's like, you wouldn't have let me do that. I'm like, well, I'll let you do it now.
Yeah, it's
You
like-
want to do it now?
There's a lot of I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to go at 2 a.m. and run to Walmart, which we can't right now with COVID, but we can absolutely go do that. Like, especially when, like, we had homeschooled, and there's no rules for homeschool. We can sleep in, we can go out late. Like, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that those conversations are important to have with your kids of just like saying, hey, look, I may have yelled at you when you were a kid. I may have been super strict when you were a kid. I may have done all of these things, whatever they are, when you were a kid, but you were like our first child ever, and like we didn't know what we were doing. We were figuring it out. We were trying to do the best we can. But to admit that, hey, we are learning, we are growing, and instead of us just being prideful and keeping these stern, strict rules of no ice cream in the morning, you guys are learning and growing and developing and being flexible with your kids. I think that shows, the human side to you, and versus them just thinking that you're these all perfect beings that can't mess up, because then that's not going to
Definitely
set
not
them up.
Well, they live with that, so they know that.
Hey y'all, we hope you loved this conversation. Here at Young Married Christian, we are on a mission to see a gospel-centered home made available for every single child in the foster care system. There are 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and there are 400,000 churches in America. Wow, that is crazy. This is absolutely a solvable problem, and we want to be a part of it. If you want to join us in that mission, text the word freedom to 833-370-1610.
833-370-1610. 833-370-1610.
I just did it.
And another thing you can do that is really helpful is to smash the like button on this video.
Smash it like Satan's face. Crush it like it's Lucifer's head.
It really helps us a ton. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel,
That's it.
smash the like button on this video.